Make sure that you spend time with God alone, perhaps with your family, in prayer. Take time for yourself. And after God strengthened him with the food and the drink that God prepared for him, then he walked for 40 days and went to the mountain of God. And then in verse 9, God approaches him there and asks him, and behold, the word of the Lord came to him, and he said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Commenting on this passage, Sister White says the following: God met his tried servant with the inquiry, "What doest thou here, Elijah?" Has God sent him there? God has not. "I sent you to the brook Kerith, and afterward to the widow of Sarepta. I commissioned you to return to Israel and to stand before the idolatrous priests on Carmel. And I girded you with strength to guide the chariot of the king to the gate of Jezreel. But who sent you on this hasty flight into the wilderness? What errand have you here?" In other words, why are you here? If you're my servant, you're supposed to obey my commands, but you left against my wish, against my will. I did not send you here. Why are you here? God was trying to make him reflect a bit on his life. That yes, he was following God faithfully for a very long time, but in spite of his moment of weakness, God was still with him. And God came to have him strengthened, to have him become again the prophet that he was in his strongest moments of his ministry. In spite of the question, "Why are you here?" God is telling him that I'm here for you. In verse 10, Elijah replies, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, God of hosts. For the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, torn down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they seek to take my life." Now, how true was everything that he said? Some was, some wasn't. You see, in order for us to overcome our depressive thoughts, you need to replace your lies that you believe with truth. It was not true that he is the only one that was left. It is not true that all the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant. There were some that were faithful. But in your darkest moments, when you focus on the negative alone, you tend to make yourself look like you're the only one that have stood up for the truth and no one else is standing with you. And Elijah believed that lie. And God later told him that, "No, I have others that are standing for the truth. I have other people that are faithful to me." In the same book, Prophets and Kings, Sister White gives us also a warning to us. Fellow Christian, Satan knows your weakness. Therefore, cling to Jesus. Abiding in God's love, you may stand every test. Walk by faith in the path he marks out. Trials will come, but go forward. This will strengthen your faith and fit you for service. The records of sacred history are written not merely that we may read and wonder, but that the same faith which wrought in God's servants of old may work in us. And no less marked manner will the Lord work now whenever there are hearts of faith to be channels of his power. God came to strengthen his faith. Much more how we need to come to one another when we see a brother that is weak and heavy laden, and carry his burden with him and point him to the source of strength, which is God. As much as God is strengthening ourselves every day, we need to strengthen others. We need to lift up the hands of those that are weak and are wondering if God still cares for them, that are wondering if God is still there for them after they have been in the service of God for so long. But God hears our prayer, and He's inviting us to accept His invitation of care and mercy towards us. And as God came to Elijah, while he was there up on the mountain, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but the Lord came in that small, still voice, reminding us, "Peace, be still, and know that I am God." Through all the challenges that we face sometimes, it is hard sometimes to look at the minor things that God does for us. We sometimes look at the big things, like Elijah perhaps was wondering. Lord, you have brought fire down from heaven. Lord, you have even dismissed all the people that were after me by sending fire and destroying so many units of soldiers. Lord, you have made a point that you are the only true God in a mighty way. And sometimes we look for those big things that God has done in our lives to look to see if there is an assurance that God is still with us. And yet God gives us no such miraculous sign, but just that small, still voice that reminds you that I'm here with you. I'll never leave you nor forsake you. I'll be with you till the very end. Elijah realized that it is the still small voice of the Spirit of God that has the power to change and to calm the heart. To wait patiently, to trust when everything looks dark, is the lesson that the leaders in God's work needs to learn. Heaven will not fail them in the day of adversity. Nothing is apparently more hopeless, yet really more invincible than the soul that feels its nothingness and yet relies wholly on God. Our weakness, with His strength, is made invincible. And that's what Elijah realized. And what God told him next is, in order for you to overcome your depression, you need to engage in positive productivity. Elijah, you want to die, but you will not die. I will not let you die. There's still work for you. God restarted his ministry. God could have said, okay, Elijah, I'll grant you your wish. But God says, no, you're still my servant. I still have things for you to do and to accomplish. And as God restarted his ministry in 1 Kings 19, 15, and 16, the Lord said to him, after Elijah realized that God was in that still small voice, then he said, go return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when you arrive, anoint Hazael as king over Syria. Also you shall anoint Jehu, the son of Nimshi, as king over Israel. And Elisha, the son of Shaphat of Abel Meholah, you shall anoint as prophet in your place. God has an amazing way to restart our life once again. God has an amazing way to prove to us that we are still worthy of his service. God still has an amazing way to give us a second chance when we don't see how that can happen. It is true, if Elijah would have stayed behind and would have withstood Jezebel, a greater reformation would have been wrought in Israel. Sister White said that God would have protected Elijah, and God's judgments would have been poured upon Jezebel, and she would have been destroyed. And a greater reformation would have been done in Israel. But yet God had plan B and plan C and D and so forth for Elijah. When we fail to do exactly as God instructs us, He doesn't cast us aside. He still searches for us because He knows the potential we have if we submit fully to God again. So God restarted His ministry and told him there's still things for you to do. And then God had someone in his place, Elisha, to take his place as a prophet in Israel. Many of us have a